Welcome to Flightdeck Live, powered by SportBuff. If you use the promo code Flightdeck10 at checkout, you will save 10% off your entire order. I'm Tim Capper, along with Cliffy D. Pine. How are you, buddy?
Feeling a little better now. This was I don't even know where to begin, quite frankly. This is
Yeah, I know.
It's a weird feeling. It's a feeling we have not had since July. Can you believe that, Tim? And I don't even know where to start, quite frankly. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, Saturday night, thank you so much for joining us here on Flightdeck Live. In case you missed it, the Montreal Alouettes just won a football game for the first time since July of 2025. Sounds awful to say, doesn't it? But that's what it is. And not only did they win, they beat the Saskatchewan Roughriders, the team with the best record in the Canadian Football League right now. A team that before could only lose to the Calgary Stampeders. Well, the Montreal Alouettes just joined some very rarefied air here with this. Wow. Where do we even start?
Let's start with this final score. So, as you said, Alouettes lose snap a 5-game losing streak with a 48-31 win in Saskatchewan. It was a record day for many players. It was almost a franchise record for one player, and it was. Do we call? And it's something that we're going to talk about here, and I'm sure on the podcast on Wednesday. Is this a redemption game for McLeod Bethel Thompson? Considering coming off the 6-game injured list early, being reactivated after James Morgan was not able to get it done, MBT put on a performance that was as good as his last start, last good start with the Edmonton Elks last year, and it was also a monster game versus the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And don't have the stats in front of me, so I can't tell people what it is, but I know it's rare, but to have a team that has 5 less wins than the other team on the road is something I don't think that happens very often. Sure, it can happen in football, but remember, the Owls came in at 5-7. Saskatchewan came in at 10-2. And you get a 5-game difference between these things, and both of these teams are going in different directions.
On the surface, yes.
Yeah, but second rain game in a row for this team. This time it went a little bit better because they used every single aspect of the offense that they could. They didn't leave the defense out to dry. But I will admit,
and also too, they scored touchdowns. Imagine that. I mean, yes, they also scored field goals, which is again good, but touchdowns. This is what we talked about last week on the show. You need to score touchdowns. You cannot beat any team in the Canadian Football League just kicking field goals, no matter how good Jose Maltos is. And tonight was not his best game, unfortunately. He was
one kick. It's really one kick. It's really one kick if you think about it. And by the way, CJ, yes, going through the warpath of the victory. And yes, Craig, there's something we are going to talk about. They did take advantage of a very depleted secondary for the Riders. But we'll start with Maltos, as you said. Again, except for the look like a bad hold on that second miss on that second field goal. Maltos is all the field goals that Maltos has missed has been off the upright. All of them. So yes, he did miss 2 kicks tonight. But still, I'm
at least got a rouge out of one of them.
Yeah, I know. But again, the Owls came into this game with it was really a must-win situation, and it really did not start off well for the Owls because Travis Tice baby gets hurt on the very first play from scrimmage. And we don't know what it is yet. Just by looking at the reaction, wouldn't it be... It kind of sucks if it was a hammy. I can't really tell, but it kind of gave me vibes when you saw him on the sideline. And by the way, you knew he was going to be out real quick because I think he was out in civvies by the second quarter.
Yeah.
So.
No, and I want to say lower leg. Again, hamstring would just be par for the course for this year. That, as we talked about, that seems to be the running theme this year. Like quarterback or anybody really on this Montreal Alouettes team going down injury, it's going to be hamstring. So how appropriate would it be for Travis Tice to be felled by a hamstring injury? But I got a feeling that it was his lower leg. Maybe he got his ankle rolled up on. I really hope it wasn't Achilles. Although, again, Achilles tends to be a non-contact injury. So, and you can see he was kind of in a bit of a pile up afterwards. So I'm hoping that's all it was just, banged up lower leg, and that's all there is to it. But
it seemed to be more of the Achilles for the Elks defender in the game previous. That was an obvious Achilles. But yes. We'll see. It did look like hammy because I swear he was holding his upper back leg. But either way, but from him, so it's welcome Stevie Scott III. Somebody really had not done that well at all in the minimum time that he had been given the rock. But man, what a game to break out! The Owls took advantage of the weather. They took advantage of the situation because it was either go deep and try to mess with the two defensive backs, or it was to run the ball. And I texted you after Tice went down, and I'll be honest. My question to you is, how is this going to change their game plan? It didn't. It did not change it in one shape or one way or another at all.
No, if anything, it gave the opportunity for Stevie Scott to remind everybody what he's capable of doing. And let's not forget, last year he played pretty decent. The very few opportunities he got, he played pretty decent, had a really good training camp. I mean, good enough that his efforts, along with STE and Travis Tice, were enough to show Walter Fletcher the door.
Mm-hmm.
And tonight just felt like, this was a validation for, this is why we got rid of Fletch, was because this guy can do it. Tice can do it. STE can do it, and so on. One thing I thought they were maybe going to do a little bit more of, and I didn't see too much of, was leaning on like Jordan Mason and David Dallaire, like the fullbacks, to get them running. I mean, they're involved in the game. They were pass blocking. They were, Dallaire had a couple of receptions, including what's this dude in his somersaults? Did he go to the Cirque du Soleil or some shit? Because a couple of somersaults, little dipsy doodle moves, and like, dude, just catch the friggin' ball. It's not that hard. Well, maybe it is that hard.
The doodle was on an incomplete pass anyway. So
what the hell? I like David Dallaire, but my goodness, like, what are you trying out for Cirque du Soleil, bud? Like, this is crazy.
Yeah. And as we were saying before, from that to MBT basically had surpassed what he had done in the first half. I mean, the Owls had over 300 yards of offense in the first half, thanks to MBT, and now second most yards in franchise history, surpassing the second place receiver for the first time in 70 years. Tyson Philpott comes in, has a perfect game, Cliff. 9 targets, 9 receptions, 238 yards, and 2 touchdowns. MBT on the day ended up with 370.
And I believe we also talked about this too this last episode of the podcast. Is we want, if MBT is going to come back and play for this team, he's got to be the MBT that was in Edmonton, who was putting up great numbers despite a very inept football team. We want the MBT who won the Grey Cup for the Toronto Argonauts back in 2022, which, incidentally enough, was at Mosaic Stadium. Maybe there's something about Mosaic Stadium that MBT really likes. Maybe there's something about that building that just ignites a fire under him and makes him play his best football. I don't know. Maybe to the point where maybe the Saskatchewan Roughriders may want to try to acquire his services, but not just yet, because this was definitely redemption for McLeod Bethel Thompson. And again, it's one game. I will try to temper things just a little bit, but my goodness, he showed a lot more than he's shown basically all season long. I mean, we've talked about his struggles. We've talked about how absolutely terrible he looked against the Edmonton Elks a few weeks ago. But tonight he was on fire. And yes, having Tyson Philpott catching incredible passes, having Stevie Scott run the rock, a defense that just came alive at the best possible time and really made Saskatchewan work for their points on the board. I mean, this was a great effort from McLeod Bethel Thompson, and I really hope he doesn't, go on TSN and start talking junk again. Just take the dub and on to the next one. You're on. I hope at this point he's just like, we're on to Toronto, or we're focusing on next week now.
Yeah, I would like that too. By the way, I was mentioning before, for Tyson Philpott, his yardage tonight is 238 yards, now places him second all-time in receiving yards in Alouettes franchise history. He surpassed Hal Patterson, who was at 232. Hal Patterson did it versus the Toronto Argonauts, Cliff, October 22nd, 1955.
Wow. I mean, what more is there to say about Tyson Philpott? I mean, we know he was going to go off at some point. And, the fact that he lost so many man games this year due to that hamstring injury was brutal. I mean, but when the bright lights came on, that's when Tyson Philpott started to shine, and couldn't have come at a better time, especially with just how important this game really was, especially with the Toronto Argonauts beating Edmonton earlier today. And they were the Argos now all of a sudden are breathing down Montreal's neck with a big game next week at BMO Field. Okay. I mean, as soon as I saw that last second field goal by Lirim Hajrullahu, like, well, the next Friday's game just became massive. So Montreal's got to find a way to win tonight. And sure enough, they did.
Yeah, despite the season series already being owned by the Alouettes, right now it's because the Alouettes are now up by 2 points on the Argos. So it is a huge game. We don't, the Owls don't want to go into a situation where they could have been surpassed next week, or could potentially tied, I guess we could say. But it's because they would have been either way. This was, it really makes me wonder, as I said, there were some things to this game, I think, that were, this was just a perfect game, man. I tell you, we've been talking about everything. There really was only one bad thing, in my opinion. Again, it was in at the third quarter. Sure, they scored 3 points, but they only had 30 some odd yards. They had less than 40 yards in that third quarter. That's the only thing that really took away from this being a perfect game.
One thing, though, I will say about the third quarter, though, it was basically dominated by Stevie Scott, like just pounding the rock over and over again, just chewing up the yards, chewing up the clock as much as possible. Would it have been nice, like that one particular drive that you're talking about that ended in a Jose Matos field goal? Maybe that should have been a touchdown drive, but I mean, for Stevie Scott to just basically pound the rock over and over again. And again, they kept talking about it. This guy basically came out of nowhere. I'm like, well, we knew where he came from. I mean, we've seen the work he's done. At 6'1", 220 pounds, I mean, he's a very stout human being, and big too. I mean, like, he can turn on the jets if need be, but like tonight was basically about the ground and pound, and especially with the inclement weather happening in Saskatchewan, I said you got to run the ball. You got to drive the ball down the field on the ground. Like, you got to keep the legs churning, and that's exactly what the Montreal Alouettes did. I mean, you saw the turnovers that Saskatchewan had. Yeah. A lot of it was just ball control more than anything else, and not being able to hang on to the ball. And there was a couple times too where, the ball kind of got away from Montreal a little bit too because of how slick it probably was. But
the Owls were able to take advantage finally, I guess, really. They had 3 overall turnovers. You had the interception, that's a thing we got to talk about. The interception, the fumble, and the interception there at the end of the game by KB and Ento. But they still came away. Obviously that Ento one was on the last play of the game, really. Yes. They came away with 7 points off of turnovers. And they took advantage of, there's none of this 3 points, 3 points, 3 points. I mean, I'm sure they could have gotten some more, but still to be able to come away with something more than just 3 points off of a turnover was huge. I mean, the Alouettes, when we were saying, when was it, Alouettes scored 28 points at halftime, had over 300 yards of offense against the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Who, by the way, did clinch a playoff victory, or a playoff spot, I should say. Getting ahead of myself here. They did clinch a playoff spot today as a result of the Elks losing.
Yeah.
And you know what, Tim? I got thinking. It was around this time last year. We went to Toronto to watch the Alouettes play.
Yes.
By virtue of another team's victory, the Alouettes had clinched a playoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious. I wonder if the Riders knew that they had clinched that playoff spot before they took the field against Montreal. I'm not saying that they took their foot off the gas, but I can't help but wonder if maybe that did affect a little bit of their decision-making as far as, just how badly they wanted this game. Obviously they were not going to do anything stupid to cause injury to any of their stars or, risk anything, so to speak. I mean, especially with the bad weather and, potential for all kinds of things to go wrong. One can't help but wonder if, just like the Alouettes in 2024, maybe did the Saskatchewan Roughriders maybe didn't take this game quite as seriously as they could have or should have.
Well, it's like the 23 game was going into Edmonton, being back by however many they were in the first half before making a huge comeback. They went into that game also learning that they had clinched a playoff spot. So, you know what? I don't think you're wrong. It's a very good question. It's a very good question for Rider Nation to think about. What if? Could that have been the case? But let's talk about this a little bit. Let's get some of these superlatives, but we will go obviously into this more in detail in the pod on Wednesday. And by the way, stay tuned for the pod on Wednesday. Something very special. That's all I will say. Yep. McLeod Bethel-Thompson, 20 of 26, 379, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, stayed upright. Not a single sack by MBT. That's 3 straight games in a row now that they were able to. The O-line was able to keep the quarterback upright.
That is impressive in and of itself. And I want to know who was calling the plays, because we didn't see that bland vanilla play calling that we've been seeing for the past 5 weeks. Like, all of a sudden, a beast has been awoken. With I'm sure. Maybe there's a little bit more confidence with McLeod Bethel-Thompson, who's a veteran in this league, running the plays. But at the same time, was there a change in the play calling? Because this didn't look like the Alouettes we've seen over the past few weeks. Don't get me wrong. I'm very happy to see this particular brand of Alouettes football, but I was just taken aback by just how cohesive they looked, how smartly they played. I mean, they didn't make too many mistakes. I mean, they weren't perfect by any stretch. Don't get me wrong, but
no.
They did not look like the team that we've been watching for the past few weeks. And I can't imagine is something as simple as McLeod Bethel-Thompson coming back into the lineup. I mean, that just doesn't seem right. But
we joke and we say sometimes how teams are able to flip a switch. That's really what seemed to happen tonight. It really did, for whatever reason, whether, as you said, whether it was the MBT factor or not, whether it was having, Tyson on as a wideout, Austin Mack. By the way, first, and we did not know this until we spoke with him last week. First ever game. This was his first ever game at Mosaic, despite the time that he's been with Montreal. First ever game playing it in Mosaic. I don't know, dude. I really don't. It's again from MBT, Stevie Scott III, 19 rushes, 125 yards. First rushing back this year to get over 100 yards for the Alouettes.
That in itself is incredible.
We talk about the different things that may have led to certain things and led to this victory. I don't know if many people remember it, but that 12-yard run by MBT, his only rush for the game, seemed to be a very integral part in keeping not only the drive alive. I think they also came away with some points on that one. MBT running for 12. again, MBT running for 12.
And we've talked about, we see a couple of his rushes before, and they were more of a cringe than anything else. But listen, tonight it seemed like he could do no wrong, which absolutely fantastic for Alouettes Nation. I mean, that's, again, this feels more like the McLeod Bethel Thompson that we were expecting, that we thought the Alouettes were going to get in exchange for Cody Fajardo.
Yeah.
And again, better late than ever, I suppose. I guess is the only way to describe it. I mean, this is, like I said, it's still unbelievable, no question, but definitely needed for this. And again, this was a win that the Alouettes absolutely had to have, especially as I said, with Toronto winning on a walk-off field goal and just being this much closer to the Alouettes and, chasing for second place. I think, again, just the stakes for next Friday's game at BMO Field, I mean, they're already heightened after the win over Edmonton, but now with Montreal winning this game and putting that little bit of cushion back, it's still going to up the ante big time for both teams next Friday. And just it's going to make for some very exciting football next Friday. That's all I can say.
That's for sure. The 48 points, by the way, that the Owls scored tonight are the most that they've ever put up against an opponent since 2021. Tyson Philpott, man, as I said, perfect for the night. 9 for 9, 238 and 2 touchdowns. Longest was a 77-yarder. Is now second most receiving yards in a single game in franchise history. From there, you had Charleston Rambo, a guy who's not had the best years. Cliffy, he was second in the league, second on the team with 44 yards. There are a couple of things too. It's funny, despite this, the game itself, the time of possession was almost even. Again, it's just, I'm just looking at some of these stats here, Cliff, and I keep talking about time of possession. By the way, Owls 52.6% on second down. I still think, by the way, think about this for a second. At halftime, and I sent this to you, the Alouettes are averaging 11.2 yards per play. 11.2. They ended the game, Cliff, with 530 yards and averaging 9.8 yards a play.
Tremendous. I mean, like that, when you talk about wins that you absolutely have to have, this was one of them, and to be able to do it in such fashion is just incredible. I mean, that is the shot of confidence that they needed desperately to restore the faith. Like now, I don't want to say they were ever looking ahead. Lord knows when you're on a 5-game losing streak, you can't really afford to look ahead too far. But I mean, when you start thinking about the other Eastern teams that you have to play, you're going to play Toronto one more time. You got to play Ottawa twice, and those are the two teams that are starting to figure things out just a little bit. I mean, Ottawa notwithstanding with their loss against BC on Friday, but Toronto,
BC's
the big one too.
BC's the team we got to look out for too. Okay, we talked about it in Flightdeck Live and talked about it on the podcast this past week. This crossover is dangerous this year.
It absolutely is, and I mean Edmonton too. I mean they're not going to go away anytime soon. I mean, and they're a team now all of a sudden nobody wants to see. I mean that's I mean as we said, there's still a lot of racetrack left in this season, but I mean, each game now just becomes that much more important, and this team really has to be prepared. And tonight they looked prepared. They looked like they're on a mission. Like they knew what they had to do, and they went down and they done it. And that's definitely a relief. Let's leave it like that. That's definitely a relief, a much needed win, a much needed confidence boost, and to just show that, hey, this team ain't done yet. So
let's talk about this. MBT having a great game, but I know it's something that we had brought up, and I want you to talk a little bit about it too. Is that there were two guys who were game time decisions in the Roughriders backfield that didn't start, and that they were replaced by two guys who had never started in the backfield. It was the first start on defense of the year, I think, or of their career. And it showed, because whoever, as you said, whoever was making the calls on offense continued to get MBT to go after these guys over and over and over again.
Yeah. No Marcus Sales, no Tavon Campbell. Instead, Crefella, Exume, and I think it's Oh, there you go. Right there. There's from Adam Stewart to right there. CJ Rivas, who was playing the game but left due to injury. Yep. He took a hellacious. He tried to knock Stevie Scott out of the game, but Stevie wasn't having any of it, and unfortunately, he bore the brunt of it. But Kerfella Exume, former Montreal Alouette, by the way, got his start in the secondary tonight for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and he got torched big time by McLeod Bethel Thompson, Tyson Philpott, and basically this entire offense. I mean, he's a special teams demon, so I mean, this is not something that's necessarily in his wheelhouse per se, but I mean, at the same time, if you get called upon for action, you got to be ready to go. And Kerfella was not ready to go. No. Incredibly, though, it took about 52 minutes of this game before he finally got benched. I guess at that point it was like, okay, we've truly seen enough, or maybe they just had no other options, or they had to do something. But at that point, the damage was already done, and Montreal just dummied him over and over and over. And my God, like the way that the MBT was able to stretch this Rider secondary, even if it did have two new starters in there, was absolutely tremendous. Like that really does speak to the decision making, the play calling. Absolutely brilliant. I don't know whether it was AC that was calling the plays now, or if it's still Jason Moss, but my God, that wow, just wow. I guess that's the only way to describe it.
Yeah, let's talk about it's one of the plays I think that was really centered on, and it talks about, I don't think there have been many games this year where the replay center seems to be part of the narrative. It seems to be that they are stepping in more than a few times this year to change plays, whether it be on first down plays. I think they stepped in on another Alouettes play tonight. I think they reversed a call that should have been they called it an offsides on the Owls, but it was actually a
procedure.
It was the procedure call on Saskatchewan. But let's talk about the West Sutton interception, or DPI turned into an interception.
Wesley Sutton. I mean, this was quite the game for him. I feel like there's at least one game or at least one game, or one player per game, where they do something absolutely incredible and then something absolutely head scratching. Wesley Sutton tonight seemed to be that guy. Absolutely incredible interception. But then also later on in the game, I think it was during the third quarter, he had that horse collar tackle that basically set the Riders up on the 1 yard line to punch it in.
Yeah.
Not his best moment, unfortunately.
What do you think about the West on the call on the West interception? Because it depended on the angle. It really did. It depended on the angle. And sometimes you get that feeling when Coach Moss throws a flag. First question to you, Cliff, without making another comment, is when you saw that he threw the flag and he was challenging, what was your thought? Good call or bad call?
Honestly, bad call. And I say it's because,
yep.
And I'll say it's because when my first impression of the interception with Wesley, it was a bang bang play, and it did kind of look like he jumped a little too much, like it got into the receiver just a little too soon, like a microsecond. I mean, okay, Brandon's not wrong here. Like, yes, DB has to be able to make a play on the ball. I just felt like he got there just a little too soon, like a nanosecond too soon. And again, credit to Jason Moss for making the call, because it ultimately ended up being the right one. But yeah, on first blush, my thought was, oh, damn, West got there too soon. Like, I get it. And like I said, bang, bang play. It happened like that. Like, it was just a blink of an eye kind of thing. But it was
the camera angle for me, Cliff. It was the camera angle. And once we got to the second camera angle that showed, it wasn't the one from the side looking at the players head on. It was the one of West coming. It was like, after I saw that, I said, I think we have a better chance at this being overturned, because West was going for the ball. He didn't interfere with the route of the receiver.
Also true.
And I think what we've heard before too is that the replay center is not really going for slowing everything down to see, what's happening here, because, Suits said it perfectly tonight on the broadcast. If that were the case, we'd have a hell of a lot more PI penalties. We would.
He's not wrong.
I think no, I know, I agree, but I think they actually, after seeing that and seeing the second camera angle, I thought they got it right. I thought it was a smart call, and obviously, as we saw, the replay center agreed and overturned the call, and it was huge. It was a huge play for the Owls.
Absolutely, but again, we know what Wesley Sutton's we know what he brings to this team. Arguably one of the best defensive players for the Montreal Alouettes. To me, though, I'm still a little surprised and almost disappointed in that horse collar tackle. Like, that had the potential to be a backbreaker for the Montreal Alouettes, and thankfully it wasn't. And kind of an interesting full circle moment was on the last time that MBT and Philpott connected for major yards. If I'm not mistaken, was that not a 70-yard strike that MBT threw?
I know Tyson's longest of the day was 77.
I think it might have been on that play. There was also like it wasn't Exume, but it was another defender for Saskatchewan that nailed Philpott with a horse collar. So
yes,
in a sense, you live by the horse collar and you die by the horse collar.
Yeah, that was in the second half. You're right. That was the first major play for the Owls in the second half. I agree with you.
And that was just coming off of a Saskatchewan touchdown too, where the pressure all of a sudden is like, okay, we got to get this one back, and they sure did, because basically with that penalty, set them up on the Saskatchewan goal line and letting Shea Patterson, who, by the way, not one but two goal line plunges for touchdowns tonight. Former Roughrider Shea Patterson.
Yeah.
Someone else who knows what it's like to play at Mosaic Stadium and I have some degree of success. Well, tonight he certainly had success. So
yeah. Thoughts, by the way, and we're going to talk about the defense, because the defense played lights out tonight. They really did. Obviously, giving up the yards and that touchdown late in the fourth quarter. They were playing prevent and stuff like that. And I really wish they wouldn't have given up the yards that they did. But that's football. What was your thought going into this game after finding out that Sean Lemon and Sean Oakman were not going to be playing this week? I know we had some guys coming back. It was nice to see. I said, I'm trying to check the next one here, Capper. We had, who was added tonight? We had Robert Kennedy was added. We had Corey Robertson, the junior, was added. Justin Lawrence was back.
Yes. What
were your thoughts when you first saw the depth chart and seeing that those two players are not going to be playing tonight?
Well, to be honest, I mean, and again, this is no knock on either one of these guys, and believe me, they're the last two people in the world I'd like to talk shit about, but Lemon's been he hasn't been Sean Lemon yet. We're still waiting for Sean Lemon, the Sean Lemon that we saw in 2023, and we were excited about getting back into the fold. We haven't seen him quite yet for the Montreal Alouettes. We will. There's no question in my mind that he will come back and be that dominant force again. Sean Oakman as well. He's been playing some pretty outstanding football, but kind of quiet the past couple of games as well. So I don't want to say that they weren't missed, but at the same time, it did allow Montreal to mix things up a little bit and, show some different looks and give other people opportunities to come in and make plays happen, which they did, because this defensive line definitely made Saskatchewan work for everything. That's the thing, is they didn't roll over and die for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Trevor Harris played a decent game, but as they talked about on the broadcast, he had to work for every point, for every touchdown, every field goal attempt, everything, every first down. He had to work his ass off to get those, and that's truly, a testament to how this defense is built. That when we talk about how important it is to test the depth of this defense when certain players go down to injury, everybody else has to step up. The next man up, they call it. That was the case tonight. We saw what next man up was, and they came through, and this defense just played outstanding football. Seeing Marc-Antoine Dequoy back out there as well, definitely a good relief. There's just lots of things. I mean, it was just good to see this defense look like itself. They looked like that buzzsaw that we saw in the first three games of 2025. And that does my heart good. Like that's what I expect out of this Noel Thorpe defense. They've been through the mill this year. There's no question about that. I mean, this entire team's been through the mill, to tell you the truth. But to see this defense though come alive and help their quarterback out, by getting off the field quickly and letting MBT get back on, and MBT in the offense staying on for extended drives, going downfield 10 yards at a time, and just keeping Trevor Harris off the field. You couldn't ask for a better performance as far as I'm concerned.
And Adam's right here. I agree with you. Good at on second down spots. It's just over 50%, something that they've not been averaging over the last. They've been really crappy over the last 5 games within this losing streak itself. Defense wise, man, I know we're talking about. We still got to give love to these guys. Ty Beverett for the end of the game for the game itself. Cliff, 10 total tackles. Darnell Sankey had 7 defensive and 1 special teams. Wes Sutton with the interception. Cabinento with the interception. Not a single quarter. Oh well, sorry, Ty Beverett with the 1 quarterback sack. So. As I said,
let's not forget Lorenzo Burns had himself another monster game.
I was just about to say, just about to say. I mean, it's funny how some of these DBs need to come into the Owls, have one of the stars go down, get their feet wet, play like garbage, and then come back and play as if nothing has ever happened. And that's what's happened with the last 2, Cabinento and Burns. I mean, it's crazy.
It is. And again, credit to Noel Thorpe as far as, he's a defensive backs coach. So, I mean, like when they say stand by your man, like he believed in Lorenzo Burns. He believed in Cabinento. He believed in Wesley Sutton. Like he believed in those guys getting off the schneid and figuring it out. And some took a little longer than others, but the end result is these guys got it figured out and are now all playing outstanding football. I mean, all 3 of those guys that I mentioned had themselves a game tonight. And that's exactly what you want to see, is just reassuring more than anything else. Because let's face it, those guys in the secondary, they're keeping Trevor Harris honest by, he's not trying to, torch them downfield as if he could with his dink and dunk play, but I digress.
He still came away with 250 yards tonight. It's funny to say a quiet 250 yards tonight. Even AJ Ouellette, 90 yards. You know what I mean? So I heard the stat too, by the way. I still can't believe that AJ Ouellette has not cracked the 100-yard barrier this year. He's been close, but hasn't all year.
And you talk about him being kept honest in the first half. I mean, he was, I won't say stifled necessarily, but definitely, expectations for him were definitely tempered. And again, that's someone that they need to get going with, especially, even though that now Saskatchewan's clinched their playoff berth, this is something that they're going to have to pay attention to, is just keeping AJ Ouellette healthy. Let him do his thing, because again, he's still very hard to tackle. He's still very difficult to bring down. And we saw a lot of that as well tonight. I mean, the guy just keeps his legs churning, and I keep saying he's like trying to tackle a bowling ball. It's next to impossible. But somehow the Alouettes, every time they play him, they find a way, at least for the most part, to keep him honest. Whether he was playing for the Argos or playing for the Riders, they've always found a way to, for the most part, keep him in check. But there have been a couple of times where he's just torched them. And I was worried that tonight could have been one of those nights, especially with some of the changes at the defensive line. But again, give this defense credit. They found a way to keep him honest. They found a way to keep Trevor Harris honest. Again, everybody and their mother is talking about how wonderful he's been this year, and he has been. There's no question. He's definitely been playing some outstanding football. But I always say winners find a way to win, and that's what happened tonight. This Alouettes team as a whole found the way to win. And I think they truly sent a message tonight. Like, I think, again, all the CFL experts and all those people picked the Riders to win tonight.
Oh, you're going to love making that graphic, aren't you?
Maybe. Yes, I will enjoy making that. Because, again, it would have been one thing if the Alouettes had just squeaked out a win. And you could have said, oh, they were lucky, or, clearly Saskatchewan did something stupid to cost themselves the game. No, this was by and large a dominant win by the Alouettes. Yes, Saskatchewan did score points and kind of gave a couple of moments, but by and large,
there was a scare. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a couple of scares, but and again, a 10-2 team should be able to come in and compete, especially with a team that's been chasing their tail for the better part of 5 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it is. But again, this was truly a dominant game by Montreal, and it was showed tonight. So yeah, it's definitely got to be like when you can beat the top team in the league. And let's face it, the Alouettes, they've beaten arguably the top teams in this league. That was one of the big knocks on them in 2023 was they can't beat the teams with a winning record. Well, they just beat Saskatchewan. They've beaten Calgary. I mean, that right there says a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was thinking something, and after I thought about it, I'm wrong. I was thinking that how much, and now mind you, both teams had to play in it, but how much do you think that the rain made a difference tonight? Again, both teams had to play in it. But how can they go from what they did last week in the rain to what they did this week in the rain?
That's just it. I mean, it's if anything, maybe last week was a reminder, like, hey, y'all played like garbage in the rain last week at home in front of your fans. And maybe that's it. Maybe there's something about going on the road. I believe they're now 4-2 on the road this year.
Yeah.
I mean, that itself is incredible. I mean, that maybe there's just something to it. Maybe there's something about Saskatchewan itself that, again, this is like, you always now have a winning streak at Mosaic Stadium. They won last year in a thrilling contest.
That's right.
I don't think they played in 23 at Saskatchewan.
No, that's the thing. Mac's first game. They played in 23. He was hurt last year, and
that's it. So, and again, McLeod Bethel Thompson, there's something about that stadium too that just seems to bring out the best in him, and couldn't have come at a better time. It's crazy. And yeah, I mean, you definitely can't use the weather as an excuse or as an advantage, even because, as you said, both teams have to play in it. Again, just a great effort overall. And one thing we have to mention, the last touchdown scored by Montreal.
Yeah.
A thick six. We got to see a thick six tonight.
Yeah. I'm sure Stevie Scott would have liked to have had it, but
maybe he deserved it too. Again, just playing absolutely outstanding football. He deserved to have a touchdown, but again, couldn't hang on. And again, it wasn't raining, so you can't blame the weather. It just, for whatever reason, it slipped out of his hands. But how about Donald Ventrelli, just with the wherewithal to tumble onto the ball and score the touchdown? And again, it's a thick six. Technically a thick six is, well, no, listen, big man touchdown, whatever you want to call it. The Alouettes scored one. I think it's the first time since Armando Sewell, since someone on the offensive or defensive line has scored a touchdown, if you can believe that.
Yes, I think David Arsenault from RDS, I think, tweeted something. I have to go back and check what he said. But I think you're spot on. So
yeah, because it's a thing of beauty. It's something you don't see very often, or at least not as much as you should in the Canadian Football League, because there's so much potential for you line up six guys, put 6 guys on the line, and technically this would be like a tight end or a fullback, working in that capacity. But yeah, it was just Johnny on the spot right there for Donald Ventrelli. His first touchdown, maybe the only one he ever scores in his life. Who knows? But he will definitely be remembering that for a long, long time.
First player on the offensive line to score a touchdown since Christian Matt, August 11th, 2018 at Ottawa.
Ah, okay. There you go. So
offensive line. His previous tweet was talking about defensive, and as you stated, that was Armando Sewell. Yes.
I mean, typically guys on offense or defensive lines don't score touchdowns unless it's an interception or anything like that. But for Ventrelli to get this touchdown, pretty cool. And just felt like the cherry on top for this game when you think about it. Just like a great effort all around, offensively, defensively. Special teams too. I mean, James Lesher didn't get a house call, but he had a couple decent runs in there as well, and gave the Alouettes decent field position for MBT to do his thing. So, yeah, this was as good a win as you're going to get without Davis Alexander at the helm. And again, I give full marks to MBT for not being MBT. I mean, this is not the MBT we've seen all year.
No. This was the MVP from last year. As I said, the Elks quarterback that we were hoping to see. Despite going 3-10 last year, this was the quarterback that we wanted, the one that could actually throw. And he did. I imagine Alouettes Nation response after that first long pass. None of this short stuff. No. But that first long pass to Tyson Philippot for that touchdown. So,
yeah, I mean, just like I said, after weeks of watching this bland, boring offense, for him to huck it downfield like that was just mind blowing in and of itself. But like, okay, I'll take more of that, and we got more of that. I mean, they just again, MBT stretching the field was not on my bingo card for this evening. That just doesn't compute to me, especially after how uninspired he's been over the past few weeks when he was starting for the Alouettes. I mean, and there was a part of me that didn't want to believe that he was this bad. Like that game against Edmonton was just disgusting how terrible he played. And I can't help but wonder if that was weighing on his mind, and just, as he was recuperating from his elbow injury, if that, because I think there's a big part of him that I don't want to go out like that. I don't want that to be the last thing I do as a Montreal Alouette.
Yeah.
Well, tonight was definitely redemption's a tough word to say when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Because it's just one game when you think about it. Like, if he does it again against Toronto next week, then we're on to something. Like, then a pattern starts to develop, and maybe we're starting to see who we were supposed to be getting at the start of the year.
And you've just brought up exactly what I was just about to talk about. And obviously we'll get into it. We'll talk about it more on the pod on Wednesday. What happens next week? Who's going to start? Now, yes, I understand it does give the Alouettes this time a better 1-2 option. But the question is, will it be Davis Alexander starting? Or will it be MBT? We don't know. We won't know until first day of practice, which will probably be Monday or Tuesday.
I'd say Monday, probably.
Probably Tuesday.
Yeah. So this is tough because, as I said, and you even saw Davis was out there in Regina on the sidelines.
Which I loved, by the way.
Absolutely.
Loved.
Like, that's again, you talk about leadership. You talk about leading by example. Him being there makes all the difference. Like, just to be able to help coach up, even, for lack of a better term, like, or at least hype up the other quarterbacks and the rest of the team and get them, to rally them even. Again, I've said it before. He should really be at 200% before he gets back onto the field. I know technically he can come off the list. Jason Moss said earlier this week he felt he was at about 80%, very close. It looked a lot better than he had in the past couple of weeks, just in throwing in practice and all that. But at the same time, you need a Davis Alexander at 200%. If he's at 100%, that's great, especially based off of tonight's performance. And maybe it was a one-off. I hope not, but I have to say, I think just based off of the performance tonight, I think you do give it to MBT. And I think you stick with this lineup. I mean, Shea Patterson definitely showed he can do the short yardage stuff. That's automatic right there. But I can't help but wonder, did something really get lit? Like, did you really light a fire under MBT? And now he gets it now. He understands what needs to be done. Like, he's able to showcase what he can do. Or was tonight just like pure luck? And
we've seen that. We've seen quarterbacks come in and be a one-off. And I'm very surprised. I'm actually surprised to hear you say what you just said. But it's a good question to think about. Depends on it. Does Danny Mac and Coach Moss think that Davis is, as you've put multiple weeks, is he at 200%? Is he at 200%?
If he is, you start him without question. But if not, don't risk it.
Yeah.
This Alouettes team just showed tonight that they're not done, that they're far from done. And you look ahead to the schedule, there's a couple of tough games coming up, a couple of games that I'll say I'm not going to say, I don't want to give bulletin board material by saying that they're going to be easy games against Ottawa, but
let's just put it this way. And I think this is the best way to put it. Okay. Toronto, Calgary at home, Thanksgiving Day game. By the way, that comes after a 17-day break. Ottawa in the return game. And then Winnipeg to close out the regular season.
That's right. Again, given the state of those teams right now, the only team that would feel like a threat is Calgary. Although the Argos, I'm sure, are embarrassed or at how close it got. Like how they came this close to losing the game against Edmonton, but they found a way to win.
Should have. And I saw afterwards the bad blood, something that Coach Dinwiddie did, pissed the Elks off badly. I don't know what it was, but bad blood. If these two teams meet up again, oh boy.
Well, the only way they're meeting up is if it's in the playoffs, but
I know, but still. Yeah, so it's a big question of what's going to happen. We will find out most likely, as I said, we'll find out likely on Tuesday, which I think will be the first day of practice. The Owls will be announcing their practice schedule in the next coming days. Stay tuned to our socials, and we'll post stuff about that, or check out the Alouettes website. Again, the Alouettes break this winning streak. They break the losing streak, get back on again in the win column. Is this 2023 again? We'll see. But it's one game it's just one game to the next. Don't look ahead. Do not look ahead.
You can't. I mean, like right now, enjoy the victory tonight. It was awesome, without question. It was desperately needed. They got the job done. Kudos to them for doing that. Yeah, just truly one game at a time. Like now, okay, going against Toronto, yes, you did win the season series against them, but they're going to be hungry. They're going to be angry. They're going to be, looking for the redemption of their own because they came this close to beating the Alouettes at home the second time around. Mm-hmm. And what's going to be interesting to me, Tim, is who's going to be quarterbacking on next Friday? Because
wow, that's a good question too. I had forgot. Yeah, if Arbuckle's not right and ready, because something didn't look right at the end of the game. Did they say what it was?
All they said was he did suffer a lower body injury, but he couldn't even move. Like that last pick that he threw, he could barely move. So, I mean, he probably shouldn't have been out there for that series, but they're saying a lower body injury right now. I'm not sure to what extent it is, but begs the question. I mean, a lot of people, Chad Kelly was expecting to play in this game against the Elks and even dropped like a comeback video of sorts on Instagram, expecting to play in this game, and he didn't. Mm-hmm. But now one has to wonder, next Friday, could we see the return of Chad Kelly? If Nick Arbuckle's not ready to go, because this Jared Dagey, did just enough to ensure that the Argos got the win today, and kudos to them for doing so. But if Nick Arbuckle can't go, and arguably he's been the driving force, I would even go so far as to argue he can make an argument for MOP this year, definitely for the East, for how he's played over the past few weeks and gotten Toronto into the position where they are now. But Chad Kelly, I mean, depending on who you ask in Argo land, I mean, he's still the guy. He's still QB1 as far as they're concerned. Could he make his return? And if he does make his return, is it going to be too soon? Like, because if he couldn't play this week, maybe his recovery is not quite where it should be. Do you risk that against the Alouettes? No matter how, despite the fact that this is a very important game for both teams now, do you think the Argos rush Chad Kelly back out there? Or do they go with Jared Dagey? Or are they hoping and praying that Nick Arbuckle isn't quite as banged up as he appeared to be in even that game? These are big questions, and also too will lead to how will the Alouettes prepare for this game next Friday, because all of a sudden there's I won't say quarterback controversy per se, because I think depending on who you ask, Chad Kelly is still the number one guy. But if he can't go, who does go?
Yeah. Questionnaire. We'll find out. She's right. He's listed. I don't know why, but Fletch is being shown as being on the 6th game. There's nothing on the transaction wire. I'll let it be. Can't comment on it, so I'll let it be. Reach out to somebody as we're talking, see if we can get some heads up on that.
I mean, depending on how badly hurt Tice is, I mean, the fact. First of all, I'm surprised that nobody has brought in a Walter Fletcher at all. Yeah. I mean, there's a few teams that haven't had the best luck when it comes to running back, and I'm surprised Fletch hasn't been given a chance. I mean, if the Montreal Alouettes think they can bring him back, I mean, I wouldn't be mad at that at all. But yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if that's a typo or a snafu or something.
That's what I'm thinking. By the way, I don't agree partially with what M Walk is saying here. Yes, I agree. As you said, MBT played it great. As long as we're ahead of Toronto, keep Davis out until the playoff spot is locked up, and if we're winning. I disagree with that. I disagree with that last portion. I mean, yes, some guys can come back easily. A guy coming off the 3-game injured list and playing as well as MBT did tonight, that's what we would love for every quarterback to do. Not all quarterbacks are the same way. I would think that if Davis is ready, you start Davis.
Yes.
No matter what.
Yeah. But I'll keep. Yeah. Chad Kelly will be absolute cheeks if he plays next week. Not worried if it's him. Well, you know what? At the end of the day, Chad Kelly still is, when he's healthy, still a threat. He's still very much a good quarterback and one that Montreal, for the most part, has had no problem with. But at the same time, what you would hope, especially if you're an Argos fan, you would hope that he'd be motivated to get back out there and show that, he's not a flash in the pan, which, again, when he's on, he plays phenomenal football. But I don't know about cheeks. I mean, listen, I've said that as long as Nick Arbuckle is doing what he's doing, you stay with him, because right now he's the hot hand as far as I'm concerned.
He's in the talk for MOP.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But again, there are people that will say, and I'm sure a lot of people within the organization as well are going to say, no, Chad Kelly's our guy. You play him. If he's healthy, you play him. Same idea with Davis Alexander. If he's healthy, you play him. But
I think so.
Yeah. I'm wondering if they've got the same mentality as if Chad Kelly is 100% ready to go, wait till he's 200% ready to go. And I don't know. Now with the injury to Arbuckle, depending on how severe it is, do you force him into action, or do you go with these 2 young quarterbacks that Toronto has as backup? I mean, unfortunately, James Morgan showed that, sometimes getting thrown into the fire isn't always the best for a young quarterback. I mean, some rise to the occasion, but not everybody will. I mean, Jared Dagey today did just enough so that the Argos didn't lose, but there's a big difference between coming in for the last series or 2 versus starting and completing an entire football game.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. And I think if we see, honestly, in my opinion, if we see as of, I would say Sunday, either Sunday or Monday's transaction wire, or the Alouettes announce it, that Davis is coming off being activated, because he is now officially being able to come off officially the 6-game injured list. I think they'll announce it and he will get the start. But we'll see. Again, we'll see. It's we can only speculate. That's the thing, though. And as I said, this is again MBT's best game since playing Saskatchewan last year, where he went off on them also at Saskatchewan.
Go figure. Like I said, there's something about Saskatchewan that MBT really likes. Maybe it's the dry ribs that are there. Maybe it's the Regina pizza that's there. Who knows? Something in the water, I guess. In
it's called Pilsner.
Maybe. Who knows? but whatever it is, there's something about MBT in that province. He does good things, whether it's winning a Grey Cup or winning a game tonight that absolutely had to be won. Whatever it is, MBT and Saskatchewan just go together like peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah. And as I said, Davis, team's not going to bring him back. They won't activate Davis if they feel that he's not 100%.
Yeah. I mean,
the best thing to do right now is center on, go back and watch any of the post game, if they're the Alouettes post game press conferences, or if there is one. Go back and watch the stuff from TSN for their post game or RDS, and then wait to see what Coach Moss's message was to the team. Those are the three important things I think that need to be seen by Owls Nation. Whatever has come out of the local media there. And then we'll go from there. Because I'm sure, come on, you guys, the question's going to be asked. Is Davis going to start next week based on, even though with the performance of it that MBT had tonight? And that's probably the exact question that it would have been asked. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. So again, a game that the Owls needed to win tonight. They finally get off the schneid. 6-7 on the season. Extend they're still 2 points ahead up on the Toronto Argonauts as they now prepare to face them on Friday at BMO. A career day for Tyson Philpott. He now has the second most receiving yards in Alouettes franchise history. Most yards, breaking the second place record that has been standing for 70 years.
70 years.
50. Is it 50 or 70? 1950 or 70 years. For 70 years.
70 years. I mean, that's phenomenal. And talk about a coming out party for Stevie Scott III.
Yes, for sure.
Again, it sucks that it came as a result of Travis Tice going down to injury on the first play, essentially. But again, we keep talking about next man up. And this was the opportunity, especially Sean Thomas Erlington's on the 6-game list. Travis Tice goes down to injury tonight. Guess what? It's Stevie Scott's turn. And credit to the Alouettes for running the ball as much as they did, because I think that took a lot of pressure off of MBT. He didn't have to keep making those hero, highlight reel throws. I mean, he did make those, but it wasn't like the pressure was on to just do that. Like, he could hand the rock off and Stevie Scott was going to do great things. And that's exactly what he did tonight. I mean, he really should have gotten that touchdown, but yeah.
I know. If it's a fumble, it means MBT didn't get the passing touchdown either.
Well, that's it, right?
I mean, again. If you missed any part of the broadcast, by the way, first and foremost, thanks to everybody who stayed on tonight. Mostly all of you, almost more than 100 plus of you, staying on tonight and being with us for this post-game show. We really appreciate it. If you missed any part of it, make sure you head over to X, Facebook, or YouTube to watch it on archive. I also want to thank again our sponsor, SportBuff, where if you go to sportbuffshop.com and use the code Flightdeck 10 at checkout, you will save 10% off your entire order. A very special show coming up this Wednesday, besides us talking about and getting into this game a little bit more. But that's all we'll say. Cliff and I aren't superstitious, but we always say we're not going to promote something until we actually have done the interview. Let's just put it that way. So
we're not superstitious, but we are a little stitious.
Yeah. Okay. Do I need to throw in something that the kids say? Do I need to say 6, 7? Sorry, I had to say that. Sorry. Anyways, we appreciate every single one of you who's joined us for Flight Deck Live this week. And again, stay tuned for our show on Wednesday. So for the final time here, Alouettes win. They beat the Saskatchewan Roughriders 48-31 in Saskatchewan, and are now 6-7 on the season. So for the last time here, for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. We'll talk to you soon.